Watch it now.
Let's get ready to rumble!
What a performance that was.
Wow, thank you so much for joining us in Sportsville today. And indeed, it's a very great moment for us here because we'll be celebrating Nigeria. Nigeria will be celebrating 58 years of independence. And indeed, if you look at our shirts, we're already, celebrating. And we have too many beautiful things to keep you up for this independent program, where we'll just be extracting all the important things that Nigeria has achieved in 58 years in sports. And of course, we have to look at the Olympics, how many gold medals that Nigeria have won, the African Cup of Nations, how many times, the gains, and of course the pains. And the people who are here to also x-ray this, dissect them, people that we all know very well. We'll be introducing them, of course, Oluchi Tobechukwu, the one they call a baby of the house. And I call one of the most beautiful and intelligent girls on television is here. And also the big masquerade, Ben Alozie, is also here. Together we'll be looking at this, but then first we're just going to take a break and come back with our top news, where we'll also give you some other insights into the world of sports and so many things that are happening in sports. Just stay tuned, because one is a different program. I am not George Alo. George Alo is outside Nigeria. He's out there in London, and of course we're going to connect with him, and when we connect with him, we'll come back, we'll tell you so many things, because George went for an important assignment. And on this program, we are the ones that always go for all the big and small programs in sports. Stay tuned. We'll come back to hit you with top news and, of course, introduce my guests. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. If you're just joining us, you've not missed anything particularly. We'll just go straight to introduce our guests. And of course, we start with Oluchi Tobechukwu Tobex, the one they call baby of the house. Oluchi, you're looking Nigeria you're addressing today.
Thank you so much, Tony. It's so good to be here once again. A big congratulations to our viewers at home. 58 years of becoming a republic, and we are here, like you said, we are all in a celebratory mode. And then speaking of progress, it's also cool to have you out there, as our captain for today's program for the first time, and you're doing a great job, George.
Yeah, thank you so much, Oluchi. I'm doing this, I'm just holding forth for George, who is out there in London. I don't know what he's eating now, but I know that we have a very big masquerade when it comes to sports, and of course sports writing and analysis. Ben Alozie, you're welcome to this program.
It's great being part of this program today, celebrating Nigeria at 58 nationhood. It's a great honor, a privilege to be part of this celebration.
Okay, thank you so much. With this very electric brains, we're going to be analyzing the ups and downs, the gains, the pains of Nigeria in sports for 58 years. But before that, let's just go straight to tell you and give you the top news that we have. We'll be starting with Scrabble, and I do know that so many people are scrambling, because knowing that 4 Scrabble players from Ghana have confirmed their participation at the forthcoming Mind Games Premier Championships taking place in Lagos this November. The Ghana contingent of Charles Tachie Mensah, Alexis Kwashe, George Ado, and Stanley Ubedi will bring the number of countries attending the second edition of the tournament, which features Scrabble and chess to 3. Liberia and South Africa are the other countries who have indicated their interest in the championships grand finale holding at the Lagos Country Club. It will be recalled that a staggered qualifying tournaments were held in Port Harcourt, Lagos, Abuja, and Sapele, where qualified players booked their tickets for the grand finale, where top cash prizes of 500,000 naira will be won in both sports. Oluchi, talking about Scrabble.
A good development. We'll try to do it here. We don't only concentrate on football. We also bring to the consciousness of our viewers at home about other happenings in the lesser sports, like they would like to call it. Other countries coming up to be part of what is happening down here in Lagos gives it and makes it to be an international event, a good exposure for our players, and then when they mix with people like that, it will also help them to grow. And that is, one of the few things that we'll be talking about today, extraying our growth in sports, not just in football, for the 58 years that we've existed.
Okay, from Scrabble, let's come back home to tell you the head coach of Enyimba International, Osman Abdullah, says the team will prepare very hard against Raja Casablanca of Morocco for the CAF Confederation Cup semi-final first leg clash in Aba. The Kano State-born tactician who guided the People's Elephants through a quarter-final by beating Rayon Sports of Rwanda 5-1 over 2 legs, says he will preview their past games to gain an insight on the former CAF Champions League winners. Enyimba will host Raja on October 2nd before traveling to the reverse fixture on the 23rd. Olichi, talking about Enyimba, the only surviving club on the continent.
Yes, Coach Usman and his boys, they've been able to, bring a little bit of smiles on our face as regards our performance in the continent so far. And this is a coach that has taken the game one step at a time, as it is, very experienced and a very good match reader. And Enyimba has been also able to silence a whole lot of people that feel that they are not a high goal scoring side in their last match by putting 5 goals past their opponent's goalkeeper. And I just hope that they will continue in that thread to go as far as even getting to the finals of the competition. Their opponent, a very technical side, especially when you talk about clubs from that part of Africa. But I also believe in him, and I believe that they've been able to surmount a whole lot of distractions that they've had in the past in terms of playing away from home. They are now in Aba, and also the Udo's debacle about is leaving the club, and I wish them the best of luck.
Okay, thank you so much. And indeed, our own friend George Alo, is in London. He went to London for the FIFA Awards, the FIFA Best Awards. And when we talk about it, we've seen, Luka Modric coming to break up the duopoly of Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. Ben, how did you say this? Luka Modric coming up to take over from these two players that have been constant as the Northern Star.
Modric winning the best player in the world. I mean, it opens up a new vista in competitive football in the whole world, because before now, Messi, Ronaldo dominated the scene, and the coming up of Modric right now has broken that, and it's going to open ways for other to know that yes, they can compete. Players like Mbappe is a player that the whole world is already looking forward to, coming upstream, competing for that. I think Modric deserves it, coming from his club performance, his performance at the World Cup. Even his clubmate Ronaldo, well, but for Modric, he was outstanding in all fronts. He deserved it.
I'm happy that at least an African, was at the podium talking about Mo Salah, and not just only African or Mo Salah. A Nigerian was also at the awards. He didn't receive any awards. He's our own George Alo. I think one of the only African or Nigerian journalists that was present, at the awards. George Alo represented not only Sportsville but also represented Nigerian journalists, and we'll be just moving over to George Alo to hear exactly what he has to say, and of course so many things behind the camera that George recorded. George.
All right, thank you very much, Tony. I must tell you that FIFA was at their usual best. Anything organized by FIFA, everybody enjoyed. But unfortunately, the duo of Ronaldo and Messi were not there to grace the event. Messi was one of the players that was picked by FIPRO as one of the best 11 players in the world. He was not there to receive his award. And then Ronaldo, who was one of those listed for the award alongside Mohamed Salah and Luka Modric, was equally not there. These were the only two notable absentees. It was a wonderful night, and I must tell you that yes, no Nigerian player was mentioned in the award, but it had a Nigerian touch. Trust our owner Majume Vimpinik, he was there alongside his two vice presidents, talking about Barrister Sheyi Akumi and Shehu Diko. They were there, and they came with two industrial giants, Aliko Dangote and Femi Otedola. They were there, they gave them a VVIP invitation, and they were in the hall. And at the end of the day, Otedola and Dangote were impressed with one another, and they have had
Okay, yeah, welcome back. If you've really been watching us, it's still Sportsville, and of course we're X-raying, Nigeria at 58. And so many people have been talking about Nigeria. Some people say that the giant has been sleeping, and others are saying that the giant is really moving steadily. We have one man who knows, and former president of Taekwondo Federation, my friend George Ashiru, who is also a member of the Technical Commission of the Nigeria Olympic Committee. He is one of the best brains that we have that has been running sports, and we'll just go to him to find out what he thinks that Nigeria has achieved throughout these 58 years of independence. George Asiru.
Thank you very much. Nigeria is 58. We really need to be assessing ourselves in terms of what that means in terms of development in various areas of our economic ecosystem. And sports is a very important one. It's both an industry and as well as the CSR. It's an opportunity for government to use it to find and develop and give opportunities and platforms for young talent. And it is also a potential industry in the sense that it can create employment on its own. And in both instances, we have not done as well as we ought to do. Government after government have not seemed to understand how to use sport. It's been seen as one of those things we just have to maintain because of the young people, and that's that. Policy-wise, not very strong. Investment level has been reduced significantly. And in terms of governance, there seems to be a lot of ups and downs. We need to step back. It's an opportunity not to celebrate, but to look at what we need to do to get us to where we ought to be. From a point of view that policy, governance, and leadership are major issues for us. We are not able to properly tap into the opportunities we have and use them to deliver the goals that we need to have. And it's a little bit unfair to expect one person to do it, two people to do it. It's a collective. We all have to do it together.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. George Asiru. And Oluchi, you've had the former president of Taekwondo Federation and a member of NOC Technical Commission talk about, sports in the last 58 years for Nigeria.
Yes, I heard him, and I must confess to you, not a very heartwarming, summation as it is, as regards our growth in sports for the last 58 years. I also agree that a whole lot of policies needs to be modified, and like you said, talking about the federation presidents, I don't think you are there to be paid salaries. You're there to use your influence and your ideas to drive the sports forward.
Okay, thank you so much. And Ben, we just I know that you've had him, but let's just go straight to talk about Nigeria at 58, and we start with almighty football. I do know that Nigeria, we've won since independence. We've only been able to win 3 AFCON trophies. Talk about 1980, 1994, and 2013. These are the things that Nigeria has been able to record in terms of achievement in football at the African continent. So okay. How do you say this?
African continent, yes, but there's one that you didn't highlight, which is the 1996 Atlanta Olympic.
I was talking about the African continent. I've not gone to that side. I'm just talking about.
Okay, in African continent.
In the African perspective, talking about football.
Nigeria, if you ask, my opinion is that Nigeria has failed to live up to its full potentials in terms of what we have. The talents we have abundance of talent. How much have we been able to harness this? And I will tell you that there's a question that is being for answer. Now, winning the African Cup, winning the Nations Cup for 3 times for 58 years, I think a nation as big as Nigeria, we would have been recorded with more trophies than we have recorded. And talking about, remember that we missed 2 consecutive appearances at the Nations Cup. 2 bad.
2015 and
yes, very painful.
2017.
You can't explain that Nigeria, with the abundance of talents we have and with our football that have come up of age, we could not qualify. 2 consecutive years. That was a very not a good commentary on our football. Having said that, we have a lot of challenges in our football locally, and whatever we're able to achieve in Africa, it tells about our domestic football. How much have we done locally? Where is our league? Where is our grassroots football development? And those things are things that should build us, towards the bigger, arena, which is the Nations Cup in Africa. We have not done enough. Good 3 times yes, but I think we should have done more than that.
Okay, Ben, thank you so much. But I must tell you that it's not really been all about problems and Nigeria not just doing so well. I do know that, of course, in the youth category, Nigeria has actually, held its own. 1985 to be precise. I still remember it because that was the time that I started my journalism career. Going to China and Nigeria winning the JVC Kodak FIFA World Cup. Nigeria won. And in the youth teams, Nigeria have always been doing very well. But for some time they do not replicate that, at the senior level. And also we see that for some time too, the women team have not really been doing well as a woman, and of course somebody who is very active, in sports. How do you see Nigeria's stay, 58 years as women contribution in sports?
Yes, when you look at it, it is it would have been, I would have used the word discouraging, but I have to be optimistic in saying things. For the youth game, like you said, from 1985, we've been doing well, and we've won the championship a couple of times. I'm talking basically in Africa now, but like you said, the progression into the senior teams, the players have not been replicate what we've seen, and we won't shy away from what has actually been the bane of our youth teams, which is age cheats. When we have this you must win, all your competitions syndrome, and that has really beaten hard to us. But I'm happy with the steps that the federations have taken so far, especially in the person of Barrister Sheyi Akinwumi. During youth football, we have the MPFL under 15 promises now, whereby these players are picked. We have a present under 17 by Manu Gaba. When you see these players, you will actually agree that these are really young players. When you catch them this young and they do very well, they will last a very long time. But when you pick players to represent us at that age level that are actually old men, they don't get to last long, and that has been our challenge in the past.
Let's look at the women. Let's look at the look at the Falcons and the Falconets, where you belong.
Yeah, for the first time, the Falconets did not qualify for the under 17 World Cup. 9 editions, and it's quite a shame. But I will also tell you that this has got nothing to do with the players that we have. I must tell you that our preparations were not the best of it. The technical crews were named, were announced about 10 days, to their first qualifier. You don't expect them to do magic. Coach Bala was able to do what he was able to do, and it was just by goal difference that we didn't qualify. For the Falcons in Africa, we've been getting it. We only missed the Alcon trophy twice, and the challenge has been, okay, what you have been doing in Africa, replicate it in the world, and that is our basis so far now. And we've been able to get a foreign technical crew, Thomas Denaby, since a whole lot of people believe that our achievements lies with foreign technocrats. I believe that he will be able to look deep and see where we've been getting it wrong. Unfortunately, his first assignment with us with the France national team in a friendly, the Falcons were looked by 8-0. But I hope that when we get to the real competitive game, we'll be able to do that. In the past time, we were not able to qualify for the Olympics women's team, and it was quite disappointing. I hope we get it right. Aisha Falode is doing everything possible to grow the women's league, and from there we'll take it from.
Thank you so much, Oluchi. Let me just say that it's not really been motion without movement when you talk about progress. Since the independence of Nigeria, I do know that we have 2 African Cup of Champions League trophy in our kitty, courtesy of Enyimba. And of course, if you look at the Olympics too, we've won 3 Olympic gold medals at the 2 from Atlanta and 1 from Sydney. And indeed, Ben, I think that these are also giant strides that Nigeria had done despite all the odds.
Yes, talking about the Olympic Games, Nigeria, we have done fairly okay. In comparative terms, given our size, given the abundance of talents, sports talents that we have in this country, I will argue that we should have done better. Let's get back to the 90s, where we had superstars on the tracks. And how much did we do thereafter? How much did we do to encourage them to build on what athletes like Mironyale, Ajunwa, Olakwede Adenika, Ezinwa brothers, and the rest of them. Where we couldn't build on those superstars. If we had continued in that strides, I bet you we would have done better than we have recorded today in athletics. Same also in other sports. We have not really, our sports development policy, our approach to sports development has a very big question mark, and which needs to be addressed. Talking about development, if you want us to drift into that, we'll now go to policy and policy development. Do we have sports policy in the country? There's a lot of inconsistency, both in administration. The sports ministers that we had over the years, permit me to say, they are but square pegs in round holes.
Wow.
Yes, that is it. Because I said some of them.
I do know. I understand exactly where you're driving to, but because on TV, it's always difficult for us because of time. And here on this program, we do not just talk about problems, cocktail of problems. We also talk about the way forward, and that's exactly where you're heading to. Oluchi, in all this, what do you think that the future holds for Nigeria?
Well, I think it's not too late. It depends on the different federation presidents that we have. It's upon the onus lies on them, to kind of remodify some of the policies that we have. I think you don't need to go down to the sports minister before you begin to implement these changes. You can see it in the person of wrestling president Migali. You've seen the big stride. Yes, the big stride that we've made in wrestling, especially with our female wrestlers. Some churches like MFM too, they've been able to rally around to render their own support. I think I so much believe that we can do that. You also see what is happening in basketball. For the first time we were able to win a first match at the World Cup.
Fantastic performances.
The federation stood their ground. They saw some lapses in the coach. They changed him. They brought in a new coach. In spite of all the distractions that happened in Atlanta, a whole lot of people thought they were going to just go there for a fun fair, but they shut a whole lot of people's mouth. And I believe that the onus lies on the federation, like just what I said, with the NFF, when we decided to close what is happening in the youth team as per age sheet. We can see what is happening now. So I can tell you that policy modification is very, very important, and they must implement it. For athletes, forget about looking for tired legs abroad and dressing them with native name to come and represent us, because they have failed over there. You embrace them, they come here, they don't do nothing. Go back to grassroots sports and discover these young talents, encourage them, give them scholarship abroad in the university. I'm talking for athletics, like the way we did in the past for the Onyalis, and we will see that we'll get
Honestly,
it right.
I agree that honestly, I think the future holds a lot for us in Nigeria, because I do know that Nigeria, Ben mentioned about the size, the population of Nigeria, but I also equally know that so many people also argue that when you are too many, it becomes a problem. But I must promise you, dear viewers, that if you're watching this program, we are going to be x-raying, dissecting, some of the progresses, some of the significant achievements that we made in the last 58 years. Perhaps if the producer will allow us, maybe we'll just be, bringing out some of these sports. You mentioned wrestling, for instance. I do know that also boxing was a very veritable sport for Nigeria. And talk about athletics, talk about table tennis. There are so many areas that Nigeria also holds the key. I think we will also be looking at all this, just as a part of the 58 years anniversary of Nigeria. But I know that time is always knocking on our door when we talk sports on TV. Just stay tuned, because when we come back, we'll also just be rounding off, but then we'll also look at the upcoming events as we always do on this program. It's still Sportsville. Stay tuned. Okay, thank you so much for staying with us. It's really been fun on the studio here, talking about Nigeria and Nigeria at 58. It's unfortunate that we do not have enough time to allow Ben Explode and Oluchi to give us, her analysis. But I must tell you that wherever you are, please, tomorrow, the Swan Cup Bet Niger will be rolling off at the National Stadium, Legacy Pitch, National Stadium. And this is the jersey. I know, can it size me? I remember, if you know, you know. So they said. And this is Sportsville. Sportsville will be rolling off, and George Allo will be coming in with the professionals. And I do know also that Frank Elaboye may come back to play for us. But then Ben, Sportsville and Swan Bet Niger Cup. The fever is on.
Swan Cup has been fun for all of us. That is where we exercise our talents. Not about writing football. We also go out there to showcase our skills. Because before some of us started to write football, we had been in the field. We had played the game. Have you forgotten me?
You played the game.
Have you forgotten the campus of those days?
Yeah, thank you so much. I remember. Even your children will be laughing when they hear you say that Daddy play football. But Oluchi, I do know, also plays for the women team. Ben, thank you so much for always answering our call to be on the studio.
It's my pleasure, and I want to wish Nigeria a happy birthday.
And Oluchi.
Thank you so much, Tony. I always find it fruitful whenever I'm in your midst.
Thank you so much, Oluchi. Nigeria is 58. I hear 30. Thank you, viewers. That's how we end this program. Thanks indeed.